It's the morning of yet another one-day public strike for teachers in 9 boards across Ontario, including right here in Ottawa, forcing a lot of parents to take a vacation day to stay home. Maybe you're at home watching the kids, one of those parents today. Do you actually have to take that vacation day? Do you have other options with your employer? Alex Lucifero is here to discuss the legalities behind this. Alex, good morning.
Good to be here, Annette.
Is a vacation day what parents need to take, or do they have other options?
I guess the good news for employees here are that there are a number of options. I mean, the first thing I'd say is, like any employment issue, there are rights and obligations on both sides here, on the employee side and on the employer side. From an employee's perspective, yes, you can take a vacation day, but that might be difficult. So if this is a short notice situation, like the strikes are, then you might not get approval for a vacation day. You might not also want to use a vacation day for something like this. So it does become an option. You need, obviously, the consent, the agreement of your employer, but there are other options. You can, for example, work from home if your employer allows that. There are some provisions under the Employment Standards Act called under family responsibility leave that become an option as well, although those options are unpaid. And there are a number of other options as well, but again, this is something that requires consensus between employer and employee, and it requires ultimately an agreement.
If you were to take that family responsibilities leave, it's unpaid, how many of those days can you take?
You get up to a maximum of 3 days of unpaid leave
in a year
under these family responsibility provisions.
So for most parents, we've already used that up.
We have, haven't we? Yeah, I've got a couple of young kids at home. They're in school, and they're home today. So, yeah, we would have.
Let's talk about the parents today who are saying, look, I got no option. I'm going to just take my kid to work with me. Do parents have a right to do that?
Another potential option, I mean, ideally, if there is a history within the employment relationship of that happening, certainly that becomes an option. Keep in mind, of course, that you can't bring a child to any workplace, right? If you're working in a factory, for example, it's not going to make much sense. But if you're in an office setting, maybe, and you know, you've brought your kids to work previously, I wouldn't just show up with my children to work, Annette. I think that's good advice for all employees. But
my kids are not hanging out behind the back of this screen, I promise.
I can attest to that
What
as well.
if you have no choice? You have no vacation days, you've used up those 3 family responsibility leave days, and you're out of luck. What do you do?
We actually spoke with a lady last week that was in that situation, and it's a very difficult one. So if as an employee you've exhausted all options, you've tried getting babysitting, you've tried asking your employer and they've said no, you've done anything and everything you can to try and secure child care for your children, and the answer is no, the employer may very well have an obligation there to let that employee stay home or let that employee take a vacation day or come into work. Otherwise, it could be discrimination under the Human Rights Code. There's a ground of discrimination called family status. And so you cannot punish an employee or necessarily treat them differently because they have a family obligation. That situation may very well apply to these school strikes.